Hi all, my name is Yehuda Sapir. Thank you for joining me for this light session regarding how to make decision-making in civil engineering projects much more efficient and effective. I'll try to bring to you, in front of you, some kind of my insights during my last 12 years dealing with risk management in civil engineering projects. So let's start. Before digging out into jumping into the insights, I think Shape of My Heart of Sting, which celebrated his 70s about 2 or 3 weeks ago, fairly represents my perception and my philosophy regarding risk management. Yes, I'm dealing with the cards to find the answer. I think there is a kind of a geometry, psychogeometry. And yes, maybe there are some kind of hidden laws of probable outcome. And for sure, numbers lead a dance, numbers produce dance. And I'll show some kind of links to this nice song. I think many of us will love either Sting or this song. It's very popular. So let's follow on. I think the very first thing that I would like to say is that being a pro is vital and essential in order to assist our project management or decision makers to make their proper decision in terms of civil engineering projects. We have to carefully learn the project business case, the incomes, the expenses, the O&M aspects, the benefits, the revenue, the IRR. We have to master Monte Carlo. There is no other way to support decision makers unless mastering Monte Carlo, utilizing it, widely utilizing it, and I show later on some examples. We have to be we have to learn deeply the bias, the issue of bias, the cognitive bias. It really matters. It really changed the whole figures, the whole numbers that are introduced into our decision-making process. And we have to deeply understand the schedule and budget issues, techniques, contingency, and forecasts. How do we make ourselves to be a pro? Reading books. It's not just an issue of a kind of, I will take kind of a sticker and I will put in my forehead and I will say, okay, I'm a good risk manager just because I have a sticker on my forehead. No, that's not enough. We have to read books. We have to be very, very, very familiar with the most updated data, researchers, articles all over the globe, because the phenomena that I'm going to discuss with you or present in front of you are global, are international. It's not kind of a specific state or specific entity. So there are very good, quite pretty good books regarding how to be professional as risk management, as the wonderful book regarding that was written by Douglas Hubbard, Mega Project and Risk by Professor Bennett Fleitberg from Oxford, and many others, as you can see here. We have to be very familiar with this book, with what is written there, in order to bring the data and the insights that were collected or in these books and bring them in front of our decision makers in order to support them. Now, one good example that one may read is the Muskrat Falls issue or Muskrat Falls project, a misguided project. I think it jumped from 7.4 billion Canadian dollars into almost more than 12 billion Canadian dollars, and it is in 2 years delay. But the thing is that at decision gate 3, which is very early decision gate or a very early stage of decisions, estimate was clearly influenced by optimism bias, strategic misrepresentation, and political bias, meaning that if we want to support our decision maker to make proper decision making, we have to be there. We have to be at the point that the decision was taken at a very early stage of the project. If we miss this train, we cannot get back again. Another thing that I've grabbed during my experience is that I should rather use the word or the term uncertainty rather than using the term risk. Because a risk is perceived by many people as kind of a hazard, kind of a risky thing. But whenever you talk with people about uncertainty, they are less reluctant and much more positive to share the knowledge because it does not frighten them. I know, and we all know that there is a gap between these are two different terms, but I found out that you can see by yourself in the Failure of Risk Management. There's a very good book written by Douglas Yehuda that he's talking about the difference between uncertainty and risk. Yes, that's okay. But whenever I want to convince the people to deal with risk in decision making, I cannot tell them this is a risky decision to be taken. It is a decision under uncertainty, and they are less reluctant and much more favorable to take the decision, or to willingness to share their knowledge and to participate in this process. Again, another example, PM Book, 7th edition, talks about the difference between uncertainty and risk. Yes, that's okay, there is a difference, but for the purpose of decision makers, if you use the word, I found it very efficient. If you use the word uncertainty or the term uncertainty rather than risk, you may find yourself in a much more comfortable situation. We have to be part of the team. Risk management and decision making have to be part of the team. We cannot produce kind of a separate risk management sessions or separate decision making session. That's not correct. We have to be part of the project. We have to support project manager in decision making, and we have to build trust with the PM, because in many cases I found out that I'm not considered to be either not part of the team, and might be that I'm working against the team. So I don't want to play the role of the bad cop. For sure not, and I want to be part of the team as any other engineer or sub-project manager or any other member in the team. I want to be there. Surely I don't want to be, as Douglas Yehuda said, cover your ass designation. I don't want to be in this position. Unfortunately, I found myself, and I think part of my colleagues have these evidences that they say, yes, we are kind of a cover your ass. No, we don't want to be cover your ass designation. We want to be effective and efficient, and we have to be part of the team members. If we are not considered to be part of the project team, then probably we are kind of a cover your ass designation. Where is the point, and I've previously discussed it, the point that we are most efficient and effective? At the very beginning, when the cone of uncertainty is wide enough and have huge amount of range of uncertainty, this is the point that we should start our work. And this is the point that we should support the decision makers, because the figures, and I will show a few examples in a minute, are totally different between the phase of the beginning of the initiation of the project and the construction phase. Here is one example taken out from the Professor Bennett Flyberg article, well updated. Professor Bennett Flyberg is one of the, I think, the experts dealing with cost overruns and schedule delays in civil engineering project and transportation in specific. And he is demonstrating that the gap between the estimated budget and the actual budget, the estimated budget when the decision was taken to go on with the project, and the actual budget at the end of the project is huge, huge. Beginning from 96%, go down all the way down to 24% in roads. In dams, as you can see, Muscroft Falls is here, probably here, although Muscroft Falls was not only dams, but was electrical lines. But you can see huge amount in most of the projects. In most of the projects, and here, they've been checking more than 2,000 projects. So we have to be at the point where decisions are taken. Otherwise, and we will be less efficient in impacting this huge gap of cost overruns. Another example taken for a book published in this year, in 2021, during the Corona, we can see pretty much the same figures. Dams are varying between 24 to 96, and bridge and tunnels and roads and rail, those are civil engineering projects. I'm not talking about Olympic software and NASA projects. I'm talking about civil engineering projects. Yes, there is a huge gap between the actual and the estimation. So if we miss the point of estimation in decision making and could not assist the decision makers in order to really assess the budget or the schedule, probably we've missed it all. We cannot rectify it anymore along the course of the project. And this is a map that is downloadable after this session that I've gathered along my experience of 12 years dealing with many areas that the risk may arise or uncertainties. You can see the headline here, it's uncertainties rather than risk. I'm using it. The uncertainties that are part of our normal life, part of any project lives, divided into categories and subcategories. You can use it by yourself. Please keep the credits as far as you can. But I found it very useful so people can see this risk mapping or uncertainty mappings and react to it and find out where are the areas that uncertainties are coming from. And it is downloadable. You can download it after this session. You can see here site, you can see external part, you can engineering, organization, market, commission, you can see some suppliers, you can see equipment, payments, whatever you think, or whatever I found it to be reliable in terms of uncertainties, it's here. Okay, let's move on. What is decision making? What are the main decisions to be taken during the project or at the very early stages of the project? Yes, the first one is cost benefit. Is it worth to do the project? And we should be there. Contracting strategy. Are we going to do it design build, or preferably BOT, or any kind of separated general contractor or any kind of other contracting strategy is essential in decision making, and it makes the whole difference regarding uncertainties in the project. Two different, totally uncertainties, a bunch of uncertainties regarding each of these contracting strategies. Technology alternatives as well, preliminary budget estimation and cash flow, preliminary schedule and buffer, land acquisition, geology and tunneling, phased operation, milestone payments. We don't want to be exposed if we pay in advance, and threshold conditions for contractors and suppliers, and even the environmental impact assessment might be an arena of decision making. Here's one good example that we should all be familiar and aware and with. It's kind of what I've been discussing a few seconds previously. Design build versus the design build. Yes, we have to dig into this research and we have to deeply understand the gaps or the differences between these two contracting strategies in order to assess our project manager or our decision makers to make a reasonable decision, a fair decision, a balanced decision regarding what would be the preferred contracting strategy. Bias is of essence. Bias is a critical issue. Data is biased, information is biased. We have to carefully learn cognitive bias. Yes, we have to learn carefully cognitive bias from all those research published by either Kahneman and Tversky or other guys in the last, let's say, 20, 30 years regarding cognitive bias. Cognitive bias matters. It really affects the assessment of the budget and the schedule at the very beginning. People, entities, decision makers are biasing. We all bias data. And we all cognitively bias data. So it's of essence to understand why people are biasing cognitively and how to calibrate it. And in a few seconds, I will show one or two examples, simple examples, how to calibrate data or calibrate the assess of forecast and schedule regarding based on my experience. And yes, I'm asking in my sessions, let's assume that the data is biased. What will happen then? Are we in the right track in terms of budget and schedule? This is a question that I'm usually asking in my sessions. I think a good example was published a few weeks ago by my colleague Grant Avery, and he's claiming that there are probably 5 common causes of optimism bias in projects. And these are the reasons. Pressure from project funders for a cheaper or more quickly delivered project, organizational risk appetite, poor quality or absent early engagement with stakeholders, low maturity of project management capabilities. Yes, it is a good reason why projects are, or why the data is biased, optimistic bias or cognitive bias. And the last one, it's interesting, the absence of specific optimism bias mitigation techniques such as quantitative risk analysis, cost model-based, not risk register-related, and independent stage gate review, as we've seen in the Muskrat Falls case. Yes, we have to have this decision point or decision gate or whatever it is called, stage gate, phase gate, whatever it is, we have to have them in any project in order to have the ability to impact the decision regarding schedule and forecast. Here's an example that I've elaborated 1 year ago in the Road 2020 conference. And I will guide you to if you want to hear this, the session that was presented by me and my colleague Judith Nisar last year, dealing with a way using Monte Carlo how to debias or calibrate the bias. We have presented 3 different scenarios. As you can see here, the A scenario was totally biased. And we felt it during the session that the people or the team members of the project are biasing the data in order to make the project to look better, to get kind of a smooth decision, saying that the team members don't want the project to be stopped, or to be halted or be paused. So they've biased the whole contingency towards the lower numbers. Then I opened the books in front of them. I told them, okay, where did you get these figures, these low figures? Are you really sure about it? And frankly, after many sessions, they were telling me, no, the data or the data that we provided to you in order to make this Monte Carlo was biased because we thought that the low risk, low figures will lead us not to halt, will lead the decision makers and the management, the top management or the direct board of directors not to stop the project. So I've asked them, frankly, can we produce some other Monte Carlo, other figures that will fairly represent the real situation of the project? And they said, yes, okay, let's go for it. And you can see these 2 scenarios, B and C, that fairly represent the real contingency at that time, which was something between 17 to 19% over the cost, the capex. And it was kind of, you can go to my lecture last year ago, you'll see that I was discussing with the people, I've changed the weight of the categories, I've changed the parameters, and I validated the results in front of the whole team to say to them, do you agree to these numbers? Is it fairly represent what is the kind of a stomach feeling of yourself regarding the project? And they say, yes, it's okay. Another technique that I was using is once a contractor invited me to a meeting dealing with, let's say, technology A and technology B regarding the underground water. And he was dealing about 2 hours with his engineers with no results regarding what is the preferred technology. So he asked me, okay, Mr. Risk Manager, can you assist us? And I said, let's try to play a game. I've put it in the table, in the whiteboard, some criteria, and I've asked them to score either the criteria regarding technology A and technology B, and the result was quite, although it's a qualitative, absolutely qualitative survey or qualitative register, simple register, they have scored the right one, the technology A, as 35, which is positive. They want to take technology A with 35 points in favor. But the technology B was scored by 27. So I asked them, why have you scored the 27? And they told me, because we are not familiar with technology B. Okay, I told them, let's play a game. Virtually, I will let you, I will give you $100,000 dollars in order to gain the lack of information, the information that you need in order to better assess the technology B. And they say, okay, now we can change the scoring, because if we are familiar with technology B much more than we are now, probably the scoring will be much higher. And you can see here that let's say if I use the laser point, yes, it's here. You can see 35. At the very beginning, it was 27, and now it is 36. So it was quite easy to convince people to understand that they are biasing the result just because they have lack of information. Situations. Let's say that we have a group of Chinese, Germans, England people, and Israel people sitting at the same project, joint venture, and trying to discuss between them what is the best decision to be taken. You will be surprised to know that there is no even concept about the decision that should be taken, not talking about the results of the decision, not talking about the contingency. Even the decision itself, it is discussable between these guys, And there's no one to blame here. We have to be aware about the situation that international projects, global projects, or Israeli projects that are taken with a kind of a people or team members around the world may arise for us some kind of a very interesting situation. We have to take them on account and understand deeply the culture where people are coming from, why they do think that this decision is not the right decision, or it should not even be considered or discussed. Ranges, for sure, no doubt. In decision making, we should not rely on a specific figure, but rather prefer ranges. Let's say something between 20% or 80% accumulated. Don't forget, 80% represents the 20% specific probability. We have to talk about ranges. We cannot rely on a specific single figure. It's not right, it's not correct, it's not valid. So we have to talk about ranges. And the way, why do I say that I would like to rely back again on Sting's song? The numbers lead the dance by the tornado graph. Yes, the tornado kind of a dance. We are dancing with the tornado, and the tornado make it easier for us to point out or to figure out what are the main risks that impacting. It's not enough the Monte Carlo. We should rely on the tornado graph as well in order to assess our decisions or to support our decisions. Some final words. So we have to be pros. We have to at least consider, change our terminology and use uncertainty rather than risk. We have to be part of the team. We have to understand our role through the project life cycle at the very beginning of the project life cycle. What are the decisions to be made in the project is essential and vital. Consider situations, German, Chinese, Israeli, French guys, England guys. Range, use Monte Carlo and produce range for the decision makers, and consider bias. It cannot be neglected anymore. I will end up the last slide, or one before the last slide is, I will quote my colleague Apollonio Garcia that says, friends, don't let friends use fluent matrices. This is merely useless. In order to assess, in order to support our decision makers to make better decisions, we cannot provide them by kind of, we have 10 reds, 20 yellows, and 23 greens, and next month we will have some kind of different figures. That's not enough. That's even not valid. We cannot support any decision that deals with either budget or a schedule with these matrices. They are useless for this purpose. So thank you very much. You may find more information about me either on LinkedIn. You may approach me by mail. And for those of you who are asking who took the pictures that you've seen during this presentation, I took them by myself. I'm a photographer as a hobby. So thank you very much. Don't forget that you will find the downloadable, the uncertainties maps. And if you want to chat with me after this session, you are more than welcome. Thank you very much.